Hi, I'm Rachael Whitefield, certified life coach, and with me is our resident history-loving hellcat, Jaki Black. Thank you for joining us on another fabulous episode of Whiskey Bent
Spellbound with Black.
and Whitefield. Yes.
Yes, Rachel, what are we drinking?
Well, I think as we are doing a Women's History Month series, last week we had Bullet Bourbon, and we still are working on the same bottle here. So I was like, let's just keep with the traditions that we are making for ourselves. So I'm just gonna stick with Bullet. I mean, I loved the last show so much. So last week. So it's like let's just keep on keeping on with what works right now.
It's a classic bourbon. And you know what? Let me tell you, if you guys don't like that tannic shock of this bourbon, throw a splash of ginger ale.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it takes it away. It's delicious.
Yeah, so let us just be fair. Bullet Bourbon, Frontier Whiskey, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. So we're just working through our reserves here on a whiskey podcast. So
I have, I
I have to make room in my freezer. I do.
have a lot of whiskey in my house.
I
A lot of it. Like, I am very impressive. Like, not that I want to be impressive to any man, quite frankly, but every single time I show a man my whiskey reserves, they're like, marry me. And I'm like, calm it down. It's too much whiskey. If they're proposing to me just based on my whiskey collection, I got to get rid of it.
We're not even sponsored yet. So we're buying this on our own nickel and dime from the podcast. So it's just like, oh, we got to get through it.
We do. We do. We got to get through it. We got to get through it. Do you
But
have special ice molds for
first
this?
things first, before we pour, my story will involve some old Hollywood glam. So I broke out the diamond ice molds with diamond white edible glitter from Fancy Sprinkles. Love them so much. So I just thought, what more perfect than a diamond ice mold with diamond glitter?
Yeah, of
I'm done.
course. Of
I'm
course.
done.
I got my big square ice mold, just my whiskey
Mhm.
ice mold with
Okay.
my amethyst fancy sprinkles. Ooh, ooh,
Ooh,
ooh.
yeah.
Oh
ASMR.
my.
I'm going for it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that pop of that cork.
Pouring with my heart right over the
Right over.
diamond glitter ice molds because we
Yeah.
drink whiskey like ladies here on the podcast
With glitter in it.
with glitter in it. Glitter
That's
in
how
it.
you do it.
That is exactly how we do it. So I'm gonna enjoy this story today that I'm gonna tell for Women's History Month. So this is our second install of it.
Yes, I love, first of all, I think it's so important to just tell little known stories during these types of months so that other women out there need to know, like, these women like broke open doors, busted down walls, smashed open the glass ceiling for us.
Yes.
For
Yes.
us.
So first things first, clinkies.
Clinkies.
Cheers. Drink down. Mm. So we're going to jump right into it on Women's History Month. This is series 2, second week. Last week, you had an old glam Hollywood star, Mae West,
Yes.
trailblazer for actresses.
An amazing,
Amazing.
fantastic woman who's so impressive.
But I found someone who bridged the gaps of old Hollywood glam that I do love and a STEM career.
Yes.
Are you ready?
I'm
I'm gonna
so
go.
ready for this one because I know exactly who it is and I have loved her forever.
I hope I teach you something today too.
Yes,
So
I'm ready.
my story today, are you ready, Jacqueline?
Yes. Who is it? Tell him.
Hedy Lamarr, the most beautiful woman in the world who also invented Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
We literally could not be having our podcast today without Hedy Lamarr.
No, we couldn't
Mm-mm.
have anything right now that we have that we love without Hedy Lamarr.
Mm-mm. And so let's just jump into it. So, okay. So Hedy Lamarr, that was her stage name. She was born Hedwig Eva Maria Kessler in 1914 in Austria.
Pause.
Mhm.
They named the owl after her?
Harry Potter reference perhaps?
Probably.
Perhaps. So yeah, so she's born in Austria in 1914, and her name is Hedwig Eva Maria Kessler. And
Wow.
so by the time she was 5 years old, she already loved to take apart her music box and put it back together and trying to figure out and understand how it worked. So a couple years later, fast forward, she was discovered at the age of 16 and began acting in films in Europe. And fun fact, you'll really appreciate this, Jaki. She gained fame for the German movie Ecstasy, in which
Ooh.
had several nude scenes and was the first woman to ever to simulate an orgasm on screen.
Oh, I remember that. I
Mhm.
remember that. And then they
So
did something with that movie, right? Like they banned it or
scandalous.
something.
Yeah. Yeah. So that reputation kind of followed her wherever she went. Um, but get this, her first husband was an arms dealer and had ties to the Nazis in Germany and to Mussolini's fascist party in Italy.
Oh my God.
He was obsessed with her after this movie and like said, I have to get to know you. But when she married him, she was 18 and he was 33.
Ew.
Mm-hmm.
That's too
Mm-hmm.
big of an age difference. That's an adult and a baby.
Yeah. So she marries this arms dealer as like it's getting ready for that war to ramp up, right?
So close.
Mm-hmm. So a couple years go by. She hates being the doting wife while her husband was doing business with his nefarious business partner.
Mhm.
So, like, it doesn't seem like it was that happy of a marriage in general, or he wanted her to stop acting, yada, yada, yada. In my research, he does not seem like he was that good of a husband. He seems to be as bad as his business partners. Let's just put it that way. And
Yeah.
he collaborated with the Nazis. Let's just put it that way.
But
So,
he also said that he was like you said he was obsessed with her after that movie. So like he didn't even know her.
yeah, I think he's like, I'm obsessed with the idea of this woman, but then I also want to control her. So she's like, that's not going to work for me. So then she flees
Mhm.
to Paris dressed as a maid. Legend is that she went to this dinner party just dressed in all of her jewelry, and then she just disappeared into the night with like all her jewelry, and that's all she had to her name. So then,
Oh shit. So she got dressed up for the party,
mhm,
grabbed all her jewels, like I'm
mhm,
gonna need this,
yep.
put them all on, and then disappeared into the night.
Yeah, and then she like flees to Paris dressed as a maid with everything hidden.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's like, F you, crazy husband. This is not what I wanted. So then she goes from Paris to London, where she meets the head of MGM Studios. He was on a scouting trip, Louis B. Mayer, MGM,
Oh,
and gaining her entrance into Hollywood. So they offered her a salary of $125 a week, but she negotiated a $500 a week contract, which is $11,000 in today's money. So she negotiated a contract where she gets paid $11,000 a week. Mm-hmm.
with
And this is
no acting experience, she just
she's been
becomes
in a few German and Austrian movies.
oh right, that she does the orgasm.
Correct. So she's got this notoriety around her.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. So then
Dang.
they also rebrand her. They gave her a new name, Hedy Lamarr, and she was branded the most beautiful woman in the world,
She
which
was
her
so beautiful.
co-stars will agree.
Yeah.
So so now she's a movie star during Hollywood's golden age, and she would go on to appear in about 30 movies. So Samson and Delilah, she was Delilah. I think she starred with, Elizabeth Taylor was in that movie as well. So we're
Mhm.
talking like Hollywood glam.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Glam, glam.
Yes.
High end beauty.
Yes.
Stunning.
Mhm. She would take men's breath away, you know.
Yeah.
So while she's in the
Even
United
to today's standards, she was stunning.
Stunning. Yes. So beauty and brains. Let's get into it. This is my favorite part.
Mm.
So in the
Mhm.
United States, she was mostly given objectifying roles, as was, we talked last week about kind of that time in vintage Hollywood. Like it's very male centric stories. She's a love interest. She's a femme fatale. She is, you know. But
That.
so, so because of that, she eventually turned to back to inventing, and she had no formal training and she was primarily self-taught. But again, she just liked to take things apart, figure out how they worked. So get this. So she would work on her designs and her inventions while in between movies and even in her trailer between takes.
Yeah, I knew that part.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
love that. She was
Mhm.
like, "Give me a break. I need to go do some math."
I need to go do some designs right now. So she pioneered new technology, including new wing designs for planes, created a new kind of stoplight, and developed a tablet that dissolved in water, turning it fizzy. She didn't invent Alka-Seltzer, but she invented the technology that allowed Alka-Seltzer to do the plop, plop, fizz, fizz.
Wow.
Alka-Seltzer couldn't be Alka-Seltzer without Hedy Lamarr.
Hedy Lamarr.
So now, because she has had a arms dealer husband, everything's like the war's going off in Europe starting in 1939. So now World War II, America has been brought into it. So during World War II, Hedy wanted to help the war efforts. And she wanted to
Right.
use her own talents as well as the things she's overheard in her home and absorbed at dinner parties with Nazis. Hitler was even there sometimes.
Shut up. How'd she get to these dinner parties?
She was married to the arms dealer.
Oh, still.
Yeah, before. So now she has all this
Oh,
knowledge. And then she's
gotcha.
now in America and she's like, hey, I could help. I have insider info.
Holy shit.
So, and then because she always loved science, she also learns at scientific meetings that she attended in Austria growing up.
Mhm.
So she was like in it before it even came to America. And she's like, hey, I could help. So after hearing that Nazi submarines, U-boats, were torpedoing cruise liners and killing civilians, she started working on an alternative to existing radio wave frequencies technology. Mm-hmm.
I'm getting chills. What'd she do?
So she has this composer friend, and he's very good at music. And anyone who will tell you music is math and math is music. So she has this composer friend, and they began working on a frequency hopping system that could prevent military radio signals from being bugged or interrupted because it's changing so frequently.
Quickly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So this is important for general communications, but also to ensure the Nazis couldn't interfere with American radio control torpedoes as well. So it's like, don't mess with our shit, you know? So she tried to join the National Inventors Council, but was rejected and told to use her star power to sell war bonds instead.
Yep. Of
So,
course. Go
yep,
be pretty.
go be
We don't
pretty over
need
there.
your huge fucking brain over here to help us. Go be pretty.
So she,
Literally is what they said to her.
yeah, they don't believe that what she
Did
is
she
doing.
listen? Did she listen to Rachel?
No, she did not.
No, the fuck she didn't. What'd she do? Oh, I love it.
So she patents her idea of this frequency hopping technology, and she gave the patent to the American government for free because she believed in it. She knew it was important,
Oh shit.
but it it was buried in the bureaucracy when the government shifted its focus after the bombing of Hiroshima. So it
So what
kind of
happened to the patent?
it just sits on a shelf for a long time. Because like the war is wrapping up at this point, and they're like, we're not going to listen to you. Just go sell war bonds. Go make us more money so we can keep the
Go
war.
make a movie, pretty girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, the war ended in Europe first, and then it ended in the Pacific second.
Mhm.
So the patent on her invention expired before her invention was ever used, but she knew she had created something incredible, some groundbreaking technology. So it wasn't until much later that Hedy's talent was recognized. So eventually her work was used by the US Navy, first in the early 1960s. So we're talking nearly 20 years later. They're like, you might be onto something. Hold
This
up.
looks this looks like it's got some potential.
Yes. So, yeah. So finally, she was honored in 1997 with the Electronic Frontier Foundation Pioneer Award. It's given to individuals whose creative lifetime achievements are in the arts, sciences, business, or invention fields that have significantly contributed to society. And then because earlier in her life, she had tried to join the National Inventors Hall of Fame, she is also posthumously inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. So they finally accept her.
After she's dead, that's what
Yeah, she is.
posthumously means.
But get this. So her frequency hopping technology she developed paved the way for modern day cell phones, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS.
If Hedy Lamarr wasn't so aggressive in her wanting to do math
Yeah.
in between scenes, we would not be here right now.
No, exactly.
The
Exactly.
technology might still be 5 years away.
That, yeah, 1,000%. Or we could have had freaking all of this technology 20 years sooner if they had listened to her,
If they had, yeah, taken her
taken her
patents
seriously.
seriously.
You can
Yep.
be beautiful and brilliant. So, but this is just some sidebars. So she received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1960. Mm-hmm.
Love it.
And she did pass in 2000. She was married like 6 times. She even married her divorce lawyer. So there's a little cheese made there, but that's not
She
what's
married her divorce lawyer?
the last one. But then she spent the last 35 years of her life single, was like, that's what we're all planning on. And then
We're gonna
also, my little science heart appreciates this so much because on August 27th, 2019, an asteroid was named after her.
Yay!
Yeah, so it's 32730 Lamar. So she's got an
That's
asteroid floating out in space with her name on it. Mm-hmm.
that's so badass. And it's such
Right?
a like it's such an important thing to recognize that even if your accomplishments aren't recognized during your lifetime, they could be so fucking big that
Mm-hmm.
an entire generation later it is affecting everybody so much and in such a positive way that you're never going to be forgotten, even if it's not in the moment. And that recognition might come after you already pass. Your changes, your big thing, whatever it is, could make such could have such a ripple effect that you have a
Yeah.
fucking asteroid named after you.
Yes. And like the fact that like she knew this was valuable. And
Yeah.
just think if they had listened to her of like how many like U-boats they could have sunk in the European Atlantic War effort, but also like how many, because she just wanted to save lives. That if they're like
Mhm.
they're sinking civilian ships, like we need to jam their torpedoes and then they need to not be able to find ours,
Yeah.
because she was in those inside meetings with the terrible politicians, the Nazi parties that were doing all of these things, and she was just like, I can't be a part of this. So then she
Yeah.
works against them. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's so sexy.
Yeah, she's almost a spy practically,
Oh,
just absconding into the night to get away from this crazy
I
husband.
know, with all her jewels on.
Mm-hmm.
Obsessed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just a wonderful woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful and brilliant. So Hedy Lamarr, the woman, the most beautiful woman in the world who also invented Wi-Fi. So a quote from her, as we like to do, is improving things comes naturally to me. Mhm.
Okay.
Just, I'm going to figure out how it works. Improving, there's always a better way.
I
Mhm.
love that.
So cheers to Hedy Lamarr.
Cheers. Cheers as fuck to
Mm-hmm.
Hedy Lamarr.
Yes. Badass queens in history. I'm very excited to hear your story because, again, like I know a little bit about it, but not a lot. But I'm here
Yeah.
excited to learn more.
So I saw the movie Hidden Figures
Mm-hmm.
um in theater. And
Mm-hmm.
I love watching it just as a reminder of what other women have gone through and how to be um not aggressive. What's the word? Like determined.
Assertive.
Just
Mhm.
determined
Determined.
not to let anything beat you. Stay on that path. And That's what I learned from the movie Hidden Figures, and I think about Dorothy Vaughan every single time I'm in a situation where things are changing rapidly, and I
And
think about
Mhm.
how she dealt with that change and made sure that she was successful in those big changes. What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say a little refresher for anyone who is not hasn't seen the movie or needs a little refresher on it. It's just so Hidden Figures is about three African American women. Those are the main antagonists in the movie who helped progress NASA's space program. So it was
The
Katherine Johnson,
Specifically the
Dorothy
Apollo
Vaughan.
mission, right?
It was no, it wasn't Apollo. It was the Mercury missions.
Oh, that's
So it
right.
was John Glenn first getting into space
Into
and
space.
circling. Yeah, John Glenn was the first American man to go into space and orbit the Earth. So
Right.
it was Katherine Johnson who helped calculate their trajectory and like invent the math for doing it. So
Right.
this is Dorothy Vaughan, one of the characters from Hidden Figures and how they helped
Right.
the NASA space program and were kind of like brushed over for a very long time.
A
So
very long time.
Hidden Figures,
We didn't learn about these women in
Catherine,
school. And if I had learned about these women in school, I don't know what path I would have been on. But I think all little girls I'm getting emotional about it,
yeah,
need to learn about these women. So these women were quote unquote the calculators.
computers, yeah.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
computers, like the
Mhm. They would
actual,
do
like they didn't have
computations.
actual calculators.
Mhm.
They didn't have people who did these or machines who did the computing of these numbers. They
Mhm.
had people.
Mhm.
Specifically, they had a room full of Black women
Mhm.
doing the math, which
Brilliant Black women
just
calculator.
brilliant, just gives me chills all over my body when I think of it. Okay, so
Mhm.
her Dorothy Vaughan, officially known as a NASA computer, but she started out at NACA, the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, which eventually becomes like a
Precursor,
uh
yeah.
yeah, they're a precursor to NASA and they're still a part of NASA, right? Like they're a department or they like they were after
Um,
NASA, like, became NASA?
I don't
It
deal with
probably
that
is not
part,
it's
so I'm
probably
not
not
quite
around now, the
sure.
National Advisory Committee, but, like, back
Mhm.
then, it became a part of NASA.
Mhm.
But when she was a computer,
Mhm.
it was NACA, the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics.
Okay,
So
yeah.
she was born in September 20th, 1910, um, and she went to the university, Wilberforce University, and got a degree in math in 1929. The big adversity here is that she grew up during segregation. This
Mhm.
is all segregated schools. So she graduated with a math degree and became a math teacher here in Virginia. I learned that she taught at a school that was it's not there anymore because it was an all black high school, but she
Mhm.
taught math at a school down the road from me, and these are all segregated schools
Mhm.
back then, and it's she's so close. I feel like I need to go to like the site. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So she went to work for NACA, later a
Mhm.
part of NASA, in 1949 as
Oh, that's
a
right.
human computer. So
Mhm.
they were in this little room, and if you go to watch the movie, you can see what it the idea, the gist of what they
Mhm.
were in. Just a room of women doing computations of the math it was going to take to get these men into outer space.
Mhm.
But again, it's during segregation, so they had separate dining areas. The black people had to I hate saying the blacks. It makes me sound a little I don't like
Yeah.
it. But black folks had to sit in the back of the cafeteria at a little table. They couldn't sit with all the whites.
The white engineers. Mhm.
Whites made the
Mhm.
black folks sit in the back. The bathrooms were across the damn campus. Like they had nothing that was equal, yet they relied on all of these Black women to make sure that these dudes got into outer space, and they trusted that math, and they did it so well that that the astronauts at one point wouldn't even go into outer space without their math being correct.
Mm-hmm.
So they called these women. They were in the West area computing unit, and they called them the West computers. All African American female mathematicians, all segregated facilities. Okay. Vaughan started becoming, she was sort of like a natural leader,
Ooh,
right?
okay.
So she sort of acted as supervisor before they ever recognized her as the supervisor. And
Mm-hmm.
she did that to make sure that every single one of these women kept their jobs. Her main thing was, we have to stay up to date on what these changes are that are happening in this organization in order to make sure we keep our jobs. Because if we don't keep up with these changes, the white women are going to take our jobs.
So she was part of
There's,
the sisterhood. She was like, I'm gonna watch out for everyone around.
yes,
Rising
yes,
tide lifts all boats. Yep.
exactly, exactly. And she was adamant that all of these women were going to keep their jobs at NASA. And there is a poignant moment in the movie that just changed my attitude
Mm-hmm.
about change forever. She sees them installing some of the very first computers
The
that NASA,
huge IBM computer.
huge ass, they took up
Room
an
full of
entire room.
cards. Yeah.
She grabs the fucking guide, the user guide, the manual, and and basically is like, if we don't learn this, they are going to replace us with these machines. So then she becomes an expert at, I don't know how to say it. Is it Fortran?
I
Or
think
is
so. I think it's Fortran. Yeah. Like you
it's
have to
like one
load
of the,
the cards into the
yes.
computer, and this whole air conditioning system had to go in with this computer.
Yeah.
Like huge. I can't believe we
She
went to the moon on that technology.
we went to the moon on that technology, and she not only teaches herself
Mm-hmm.
the Fortran computer programming language, which is the first. Is it the first? I don't know. It feels like it's the first, some of the first
Yeah.
computer programming, like widely used computer programming language. She becomes an expert and then teaches all of her West area computing unit this language, and
Mhm.
saves their jobs because they put in this computer to replace that room full of Black women.
Yeah. And
And
I
it didn't
remember
work.
in the movie, they were like, someone's got to run it. So it might as well be us. Like, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That attitude left an indelible impression on me because of my job. I know that my job could be replaced with AI.
Mm-hmm.
So because I know that, I learn the technology the minute they give it to us.
Yep.
Because of Dorothy Vaughan's actions, to ensure that she knows exactly what the big change is going to be and how to change with that big change to get
Mm-hmm.
ahead of it.
Mm-hmm.
It
To
has,
see what's coming and to have the brilliance and the foresight to say, this is the future. We
that
can't dig our heels in and say, I'm good, stick with me.
I'm not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
You
Technology. Yep.
cannot dig your heels in when it comes to technology and not change. You have to change. You have to be ahead of that change and ensure that you can evolve.
Yep.
And because of her foresight with learning the to program the computer, even the people who installed that fucking computer couldn't fix it, but she could.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she became the uh remember how I said earlier she was acting as the
Mm-hmm.
supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
and the women followed her. And because of that, because she was such a natural leader, she is NASA's very first Black female supervisor.
That's
And
right.
this is, yeah, this is back in what, like the 50s.
Yeah, Mercury must have been a very early 60s at
Yeah, late 50s,
yeah,
early
early 60s.
60s.
Yeah.
She becomes
Mhm.
Black female supervisor at NASA,
Mhm.
very first one.
Yeah.
That to me, like, just chills up and down my spine whenever it's like her tenacity,
Mhm.
her foresight, her just wherewithal
Mhm.
just gives me the just like the I get a lady boner over powerful women, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, and
Who
it's
are
just like
just internally powerful.
mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
That
So,
again, like maybe women, especially women of color who are like, we got to be twice as good and perfect. So it's
yeah,
like, how long had she been perhaps passed over just for because there hadn't been a black female supervisor yet, you
you
know?
know what I think about all the time is these women worked, they were brilliant, brilliant mathematicians who are integral pieces to the United States winning the space race. They had to, when they left work, they got in the back of the fucking bus.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go to the back, and these white dudes who were just selling fucking shoes made them move. That shit pisses me off. That makes me so just I just want to make them proud. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want
Yeah.
to I want to keep moving us forward because like they really took some shit and they took it quietly, and like that for me is so infuriating. It's so
Mm-hmm.
infuriating because I can't take any kind of shit quietly. I can't take racism quietly. I can't take even the thought of segregating races quietly. Like I couldn't.
Yeah.
And they did. And they worked
They had
very, very
they had
hard.
to, for
And
their
they had
safety and
for their own safety.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So inspiring. So she obviously she retired in the late 60s, but in 2019, Vaughn was posthumously awarded again after she's dead, awarded the Congressional Gold Medal for
Get out of
all of her
here.
work. And in the same year,
Mm-hmm.
she now she's got her name on the moon. There is a crater on the moon that she was an integral part of getting man onto. There's a
Mm-hmm.
crater named after her called the Vaughan crater, and we can see it in the telescope.
That's her?
Yeah, it's her. I
What?
know.
What? I didn't know
I
that.
I didn't know that either. That's my favorite fucking thing. Like you're
Yeah.
goddamn right. There's a crater on the moon named after her.
Yeah. It's a good time because Katherine Johnson, there is a center named after her. It says Katherine
Yeah.
Johnson IV&V. So Katherine Johnson has got her, I mean, obviously she was the main character in Hidden Figures and whatnot. So I'm like, I'm really glad that Dorothy Vaughan has really gotten her accolades as she deserves.
She
I didn't know she
deserves.
had a moon megalith
Right.
named after her.
Yeah. A megalithic crater is
That we can
named
see
after.
I Spy with My Little Eye, Von Crater on the Moon on
Yes.
tonight. Oh my God. I didn't know that.
Yes. That's
I'm gonna
so
go look for
fucking
this.
cool. It's
Hmm.
the only crater named after a black woman.
And we love the moon.
We love the moon.
She,
I
she is
have
beautiful.
moons tattooed on me. I wear moon necklaces. One
Yes.
of these craters is the Vaughn
We're
crater.
gonna
The
figure it out.
we
Yeah.
should point it out and put a little like arrow. Dorothy
Dorothy
motherfucking
Vaughn's
Vaughn.
crater is right here on the moon. Love
Yes.
it. Oh, I love it.
I love her so much. I'm not even joking when I tell you that character, Katherine Johnson, yes, amazing. It
Hmm.
was it was Dorothy Vaughan's foresight when she saw the computer that really changed my attitude towards change in our corporate like lives.
Yeah.
Because you like I have a 9 to 5. It's a corporate job and it goes through change constantly. And before I was very adverse to change. I was very like, oh, I don't want to do it. But
I
now
feel
they
icky.
introduce
I don't know.
yes.
Yeah.
Now they introduce programs and I'm like, how do I become the expert? How do I become the trainer? And it's because it literally is because of Dorothy. It
And
it is.
I really
She
like
changed
that
my life seeing her.
because in my work right now, it was like find a problem and figure out how to solve it so I
Mhm.
make myself valuable because our contract is gonna come to the end sometime this year. So then
Yeah.
we all have to either switch companies, not get rehired, reapply for our own jobs. And I know people in contract positions may understand this, but it's just like you find a problem, you find a pain point, and then you need to go figure out how to fix it so you become invaluable.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what she did. It's such a good lesson for all women
Mhm.
across the country. And I know that there's some boys who listen to us, but you guys have a leg up because this world is made for you. You guys invented it. We have to get ahead as women. And I want all of the women to listen to this episode and feel inspired by that. Like, if you see a change coming, sister, get the fuck ahead of that change. Get the
Mhm.
fuck ahead of it.
Yes.
If you love what you do or you don't want to be replaced by the technology, learn the technology. Get the fuck ahead of it because you like this is it's it really I don't even know. I don't even have words. I use her as an example in interviews
Yeah,
as how
as
I
we
deal
should be. Yeah, 1,000%.
every time.
Mhm.
Every time. I
Mhm.
love her so much. And I
Yeah.
think every woman could learn such a huge lesson from her. Oh, let me tell you a great quote. Let me tell
Ooh.
you.
I'm ready.
So we know Dorothy Vaughan was born in 1910.
Mhm.
Okay.
She
She passed
is
away.
2 generations away from slavery. If generations
Yeah.
are 20 years. Yeah,
Honestly,
she is.
her parents, if they were old, if they were older,
Mhm.
they could have been
Her
slaves.
grandparents for sure.
For sure were
Yeah.
slaves.
Mhm. Mhm.
Fuck, dude. That is
'Cause
hard to think
we
about.
act like that's kind of ancient history for it
It's
is
not.
not. It is
It is
not.
not. It is not.
Like,
I know people whose great grandparents were alive when they were children and were also talking about what slavery was like.
mhm. Mhm.
So it is not distant history. It is still history that affects people that are alive today. And Dorothy Vaughan only passed away in 2008.
Yeah, that's not that long ago.
It is not. Her,
Not with millennial math. That's not that long ago.
she is, she is her grandparents' dream come to life.
Yes.
Like
Like the American dream exists and it's like yeah.
it does. It does. Especially if you don't fucking take no for an answer.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like I know a lot of people start their race way the fuck behind,
Mhm.
but you can get ahead if you have the right attitude. If you just keep taking the next right step, you can. It
Mhm.
is possible. It
Yeah.
just is
And
so.
and also it's very much like a keep on keeping on mentality of like you're doing the right thing, just keep at it because again, there had never been a female black supervisor at NASA yet. So it's like she didn't even think that was probably possible, but she kept doing what she knew was right to educate the people around her to make them indispensable in this
Yes.
space race endeavor. And it's like, and then she was rewarded for that hard work. Like she didn't set out on this path knowing that she would be a trailblazer. She just kept doing her best
Yes.
and then became
Exactly.
a trailblazer because of it. Yeah.
Inadvertently.
Mhm.
Inadvertently.
Mhm. Yeah.
So this is this is such a two-pronged, just good and like, oh fuck.
Mhm.
Because when you say it, you have to think about where she came from.
Mhm.
and what time period she lived in.
Yeah.
So she says, I changed what I could, and what I couldn't, I endured.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that, even though that might have been 60 years ago, like, say it again, because like that seems very timely even to today for women. Do you say it again?
I changed what I could, and what I couldn't, I endured.
And maybe it's up to us now not to endure it anymore, but to change everything.
Try to change as much as we fucking can. But it's a lot of like, you know that it's that prayer that they say in AA, give me the strength to change the
Oh,
things I can, and
the
or
serenity
the courage to change the things I can, the strength to endure the things I can't, or something like that.
something.
It's very
Yeah. It's the serenity
yeah,
prayer. Yeah.
yeah, very reminiscent of that. And because like she had to go through working at NASA in a whole segregated space and deal with the no water fountains, no bathrooms, no like equal lunchroom, for Christ's sake.
Mhm.
She had to endure that, but where she saw she could change something, she fucking did, and she took the steps to do it. And because of her, and because of women who followed her, NASA is now a very diverse. They know they can they know they need to be hiring minorities because of women like her. They
Yeah.
know they need to be hiring females because of women like her.
And this hasn't meant to be a NASA podcast, but again,
No.
close to our heart, we are
Yeah.
familiar with it. But again, it's just like speak to what you know, and we know these great things about the agency.
Yeah.
Um, and then also to look inward and to see your own flaws and faults, and just to say, hey, I want to be better. And then to
Mhm.
step up and actually, quote unquote, put your money where your mouth is and actually like do, say you want to be better and actually do better,
Mhm.
which is actually really like, I think part of the history of NASA as well,
Yeah.
to really evaluate, like, even, we just recently had NASA's Day of Remembrance, where we talk about Apollo 1, where we talk about Challenger, when we talk about um, Columbia, where
Okay.
we remember
Yeah.
those things. But we also take those moments to look inwards and say, how can we do better so those things don't ever happen again? So it's
Yeah.
not wasted life. It's not wasted, and we can move forward and be better for the future.
Because if we don't learn from history,
We're doomed to
we're
repeat it.
doomed to repeat it.
Yeah. So,
Doomed.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
Jaki, what fantastic storytelling, you hellcat, you did today.
yes,
Are
yes, me
you,
too.
oh, I'm going to take another little sip of whiskey here. Are you
Me
ready
too.
to do, I know you just told the story, but are you ready to do some spellbounding?
Yeah,
Mm.
I just have to have like a sip or three.
Wet your whistle. Thank you so much. We're doing this in chronological time order, our people. So it's like I had to go first.
Yeah.
But yes, so keep taking one for the team. Are you ready for the spellbounding?
Yes. Just got to
Yeah.
do a quick shuff, you know?
Ooh, should I talk about who we're going to talk about on next week's show
Yeah.
while you're shuffling?
Yeah.
Mm. I will be talking about the one and only Miss Nellie Bly. And then Jaki will be talking about Miss Mary Fields.
And
So,
y'all, Mary
y'all,
Fields is another crazy badass
these are some,
Black woman who
yes,
just did not give a fuck and went balls to the wall. And I can't wait to tell you what she did.
yes. I'm so excited to learn more about Nellie Bly and to tell all of you about it. She's this journalist and got herself committed to an insane asylum to do an undercover story. Oh my God, stay tuned for more.
Stay tuned. Actually, that
Yes.
reminds me of American Horror Story. There is like a plot line very, very similar. I'm sure that there wasn't a priest
Well,
disposing of bodies, but I can't
I'm
wait.
I'm not familiar with American Horror Story, but again, maybe this is well, every fiction is based in a hint of truth. The truth is stranger than fiction.
Truth is way fucking stranger than fiction.
So I'm very excited for the next week's stories. So stay tuned for that.
All right, ready?
Are we ready? Knock 3 times. Meet me in the hallway.
On
We
the
are ready.
ceiling if you want
Want
me.
me
Twice
twice
on
on the pipes. If you're
if
not gonna
the answer is no. I love that freaking
Oh,
song.
now
I
and
love it.
then.
I love
Okay.
it so much. All
We're
right. All right.
letting our millennial hearts out. Okay, are we ready?
Yeah,
Your
I
face
think
already for
so.
these card pulls.
Because some of these I'm familiar with, but some of them I'm like, what? So one popped out. So
What are
let's
the
just select.
spirits telling us today?
So,
I'm ready for the blessings.
okay.
Oh my God, your
All
face.
right. Well, here's the thing. That's why I get confused is like I see the cards and I'm like, really? And then like I realize what I'm being told, and then it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Really? Okay, so the first one is the Fool.
The Fool. Okay.
The Fool is about the call of the unknown.
Hmm.
Step into the untaken, the path least
Oh.
traveled. You see how he's got his like stick with
We
his
got the hobo
sack?
bag, the
The
path of
hobo,
unknown. Oh, yes.
right?
There had been no most beautiful woman in the world making all these scientific breakthroughs and patents. Besides her.
Exactly. And this computer, this black woman who like had to figure out how literally she taught herself how to program a computer.
Yes. It hadn't been done before.
It hadn't. And she learned it all on her own.
Mm.
She took that manual. She said, give that to me. I'm going to learn how to do this. The white men were like, sure you are.
She
And then she
she
did.
pulled a hold my beer.
She, she fucking did pull a hold my
Yeah.
beer.
Yeah, she did. Oh, I love it. Really, I do.
Oh, I
Mm.
do too. Okay. So the Six of Wands is about leadership.
Leadership. Oh, this is Dorothy Vaughan written all over it. Mm.
But also Hedy Lamarr,
Yeah, yes. Hedy Lamarr just
the
doesn't leave
path of the
her
unknown.
arms
She grabbed
dealer
her bag.
husband.
She literally grabbed her bag. And by grabbing her bag, it means she put on all her fucking jewelry and ran. She had no path. This is the
No.
path of the unknown. This
Mm-mm.
is about the Six of Wands is about rising to meet the challenge, progress, overcoming obstacles, and leadership.
I love
That if
it.
that isn't Dorothy Vaughan, I don't know what it is. And
Mm-mm.
honestly, you guys, ladies, you're going to meet so many paths that are unknown. And our podcast really is about huge changes,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
It
Hmm.
really is about changing and how we as women have to deal with that big change and how to get through it, but just rise to the freaking occasion.
And believing in yourself.
Meet that fucking challenge.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
going to be so many challenges. Just meet them head on. Know that that path is going to be laid out. Just meet it.
We know that Rachel loves Beyonce, my personal Lord and Savior, Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter on this podcast. And what she has said is, I am not a betting woman, but I will always bet on myself.
I know that's fucking right.
That's right. That's what we do here on this podcast. We encourage you to do
Yes.
the same. Yes, bet on yourself. Double down.
And then the last
Mm-hmm.
one is the stars.
The star.
And the stars has to do with the return of hope.
The return of hope.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
like you rise to that challenge, you meet that fucking challenge head on, and I swear to God that
Mhm.
feeling that you had, like that self-doubt, like I have no hope, that shit will return.
You know,
It will return.
and one thing I really like about these stories is that perhaps in moving forward, it's like posthumously or whatever, it's like these women were recognized for their work and what they did bring to the table. Like no one else got credit for what they did. They were recognized eventually, but they were recognized.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's important.
Right. I just love these cards for
They're
after
great
telling these
cards.
stories. I feel like this is I know that some of our listeners are going to need to hear this pull after these stories.
Yeah.
Take these stories use them as inspiration for your own life. We are all going through whatever it is we're going through. Be brave. Take that path.
Mm-hmm.
Know that that path is going to be laid out for you. Be the leader either to your peers or in your own life if that's what is needed. But know it's going to be laid out for you and your hope, your future. The good is going to come out of that, out of you facing that adversity. Change what you can. What you can't, get fucking through it. Sit in that shit and get through it.
And what I love
Dorothy will
about
be proud.
these stories is that these women knew that they had something to bring to the table. Like they believed in themselves and they're just like, yes, like, no, you need to listen to me. What I have is important. What I've created is important. What I know how to do is important. Like, don't put baby in the corner. We're not having that.
We are not. And while I was shuffling, I don't
Mhm.
know if you guys, if you're on YouTube and you're a YouTube viewer, but for our listeners, a card popped out, which
Ooh,
sometimes it does. And I think that
bonus
it is inspired. And as I said on the last episode, or did I say it on this episode? In spirit? I'm not sure.
is the last week's episode.
Inspired comes from the root in spirit. So spirit is pushing you towards this outcome. So if you feel like an idea sort of come to you and you use the phrase inspired, it might be because you have some ancestors or even whatever big spirit you are just really praying to, talking to, God, the universe, the fold, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe is happening whenever a card just kind of jumps out at me. And the card that jumped out is the seven. Yeah, Seven of Swords. And the
And what is
Seven
the
of
Seven of Swords?
Seven of Swords has to do with being cunning, being non-confrontational in your problem solving, and thinking outside the box. So
Oh.
change what you can, ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Change it. If you feel like you can change it, change it. If you have to endure it, have the courage and the patience to sit in that shit
Mm-hmm.
until you can change it.
Yeah,
I love that.
I love it. Oh, I'm gonna need a breath from
I know. It
that's
makes me emotional talking about these kind
yeah.
of women because they are just so influential and I don't want to let them down. Even
Yes.
they're past, but I don't want to let their energy down. All of the changes, all of the things that they did for us as women as a whole
Mm-hmm.
are so important that I don't want to let them down. And so I get like really emotional talking
Me
about these women who have
Me
changed
too. And I just
us.
want to say, like, okay, so the early primary voting is happening right now.
Yeah.
And like in Colorado, we all mail in our ballots. And so it just got mailed to me. But again, it's like as a woman, and like I vote in every single election because I owe it to the women who the suffragettes who came before me that really fought and women died. And to
They
give
were
me
beaten, they were force fed, they were raped because
they were
all they
put in
wanted was for
prison.
us to be able to fucking vote. So if you're a
Yes.
woman, you better get your fucking ass to the poll.
So to me, it's
That's how
like,
I feel.
yes. So to me, it's like the very simple thing of just mailing in my ballot, this very simple thing. It's like, I will not let it just sit there. I owe it to them to exercise this very simple thing. I may not like who I'm voting for, but the point is, I'm never going to not do it because I
Yep.
owe it to those women who gave so much so I can do so little. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, they fought for me that I can
They
say,
risked their
I'm just gonna wear,
lives.
yeah, I'm gonna wear that little sticker and say I voted. And like what I also love is that on suffragettes headstones, women go and like Susan B. Anthony and stuff, they like go and put like their I voted sticker on her headstone on every
Yes. Oh,
election
that's gonna
day.
make me
It
cry.
is very true. So it's just like there's so many. I know we're going to talk about a few on this month of Women's History Month, but it's like there are so many and I can't wait to just keep going in this tradition that we're creating on this podcast of like celebrating women and their accomplishments. And we're not going to belittle, and we're not going to make our voices less. We're going to stay loud and proud, and we're going to be, like, we're not going to be told to sit down a moment longer. So
No.
again, I
We're
always
going to change what we fucking can at this point.
absolutely.
As
And
Dorothy said, change it.
I have to be great to honor these women who came before me. That's how I
Yeah.
feel in my life.
Yes. I feel
Oh,
the same. I know.
Jaki, what
I know.
a podcast fucking episode. I know, what a moment to go out on. I love you so much.
I love you so
I
much.
know, so much great whiskey. Changing gears though.
I know.
We had like not a serious conversation. We had like a heartfelt conversation over here on the podcast. Are you ready to join us over on Patreon for the After
You
Dark
guys,
Sizzle Reel?
there's too many boys on Patreon, first of all. And
They
I
want to know the
know
cheese may what we're saying about them.
there are plenty of you who
Mhm.
have $3.95 to listen to all of the cheese may. Can we just get y'all to subscribe to our Patreon so that y'all can outnumber the boys? Because there are too many boys listening to our Patreon, and this is a women's podcast. And don't get
Yes.
me wrong, like, that's fine. They can
We
listen,
love you. We
but
love you,
it's not
gentlemen
for
here.
them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for them. It's for
Yeah.
y'all.
Mm-hmm.
It's for y'all. So
And
join us on
our
Patreon.
our sizzle reel on Patreon. We're gonna switch over to the wine, and we're gonna talk about Love is Blind season 6. It is getting. I've never watched reality TV before, and it is. And it is crazy, and I have got such opinions on these men and their relationships, and I am having none of it. You know this.
No, yeah, no,
Mm-mm.
I'm not having any of it
You're not
anyway.
having it.
They all give me red flag vibes, so
Yeah, I know. Let's talk about it over on Patreon. So if you want to join us, the link is down below in the show notes. To join us on Patreon, it's $3.95 a month plus tax. And then you can just hear about all the chisme of our lives and everything that's going on and everything that you're interested in as well. So join us over for the After Dark Sizzle Reel. It gets real spicy over there. And then, yes, so thank you so much for joining us for another fantastic and fabulous episode of Whiskey Bent and
spellbound with Black.
Whitefield. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.